So, welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream, live peoples, recorded for Ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I sent off for this book from eBay or somewhere second hand, a few pounds, because I wanted to learn about pastels and I thought I'd be able to use them. Unfortunately, these have given up a little bit, so I'm going to give it a month to see if I can get any better. Oh, I just can't reach that. I have another light. I did ask my husband to put all the lights on for me before he left, but he didn't, so it's not looking... That might be better. Because the daylight light's a bit much. Excuse me. So I thought I'd try and go through it, but you have to bear with me a bit because turning pages is not my best thing. So on the front, doesn't matter which thumb I use at the moment, it has a little word that says, whoops, turn. Ow, there. And again, I'd intended to go through all the colours with you, but basically what you're supposed to do is you have your colour on the outside and it tells you to get the inside colour. It shows you what you get. So if you have cobalt blue and an orange, you get a brown. If you get if we do it to the pink, to the the purple. So if we do the French ultramarine and purple, sorry, the cobalt blue. So we've got a cold blue and we've got a purple. You get French ultramarine. What you can't do is ever make cobalt blue. So, well, you can make cobalt blue, but you can't make selenium blue. And if you think of your printer ink blue is a very cold, vibrant blue. Cobalt blue is a tiny bit warmer. So I would have preferred to have selenium blue, but cobalt blue is quite cold. It's at the coldest apart from selenium blue. So when I made my French ultramarine, with my printer inks, I had the selenium blue, and I mixed selenium blue with red, and I only had permanent red, and that gave me a purple. And then I mixed a tiny bit of purple with the selenium blue, the bright blue, and that gave me French ultramarine. So you can actually work out how to make a lot of colours. The cadmium red, the cold yellows give a brighter green. The cad gives a colder green. So, and if we put, I'm just going to do one because otherwise it's going to be too painful for me. If we put cadmium yellow with cobalt blue, we're going to get a dull. But if we put cadmium yellow and cobalt blue, so that's a cold yellow and a cold blue, you get your brightest green. And that's how people sometimes get a little bit mixed up, because they haven't differentiated their colder yellows to their warmer yellows. So what we have here is a colour wheel. So I think that blue is not cold enough, and I think that one is not pinky enough. The yellow's about right. So in printer inks you have a very, very cold, bright lemon yellow. You have a very pinky red and alizarin crimson, because you can make a cad red. A again, let's see if we can do this. I had a permanent rose, Elysian crimson. I didn't have any other reds, but I put a tiny bit, I made an orange, so I put bright yellow to my Elysian crimson, and I got an orange. And then I had orange, and I put the pinky red to it, and I got a cad red, which is a colder red. So you can make cadmium red, but you can't make the pinky red, because you can't take the warmth out, the cold out of it. But then when you mix the two brightest, a pinky pink and the cold blue, you get the brightest purple. When you mixed the coldest red, you can make an orange, and then you can make a cad. You can make a bright green. You can make a purple, and then if you add a tiny bit of purple to the cold blue, you get French ultramarine. You get a purpley blue, a warm blue. So that's quite good. And it shows you about the primaries. So we've got the 3 primaries in the middle, and then we've got the secondaries, and then it shows you the no, it doesn't show you the secondaries. It just gives you 2 of each. There's a term about colour. I keep forgetting to take it forward. So it says, hue indicates the strength of colour from a full saturation. So that's when we were looking at the pastels, and we had a cadmium red, but then we had 3 or 4 others adding white to them. And that was the hue from the full strength. If you buy any colour labelled hue, it means it's a colour less than full strength. So you'd never get a cad. You get a cad red, which might be £8. Then you get, this is in watercolour, or in lots of other things as well, but we'll look at watercolour. A tube of cad red could be £8. A small tube of watercolour. A tube of red cadmium red hue would be £5. A cadmium orange could be about £8. But an orange hue or a cadmium hue would be £5 or £6. The same with the French ultramarine. French ultramarine and ultramarine is going to be more expensive. Now the French ultramarine, which actually is a mix, is more expensive, but the French ultramarine is the purpley blue that gives you the brightest purples. When you buy the French ultramarine, that will be the same price as cadmium red. It's a pure colour. It's nearest its properest pigment. It's got all the pigment in it. A hue is when they start adding other things, like normally white. And that's when I said that you can have some greens are more expensive. If they're made with French ultramarine and cadmium yellow, they're more expensive than if they're made with a hue of a yellow and a hue of a blue. So you can have cheaper blues, cheaper yellows. They mix them together and it gives them a cheaper colour. And they won't be as vibrant, and they may not be exactly the same shade, if you think of shades, because they're not pure colour. The both original colours have been, the primary colours have been mixed with something else before they've been mixed to mix a secondary colour. That makes sense. So here it talks about tones. Now I say tone instead of tint, or tint instead of tone, but I always thought they were different, but it says here they're not. It says tones are degree of darkness from black to white that increase shades and light. For example, on a black and white photograph you can understand any subject independently of colour, solely in its graduation from light to dark. The word shade is often used instead of tone. And then it calls about colour. Colour, it results from the division of light into separate wavelengths, creating visible spectrum. Our brains interpret each wavelength as a different colour. The colour wheel is an aid to help us understand how colours are arranged in relation to each other. And then it talks about complementary colours. And complementary colours are colours opposites on the colour wheel. So they're not next to each other, they're completely opposite. So the colour wheel would be good for that, because the blue, the blue is yellow, but that's a cold blue, is a cold yellow. Sorry, it's a warm yellow. French ultramarine, sorry, it's a cold yellow. A warm yellow is a French ultramarine. Orange should be a purple. Oh, it's not quite working that way because it's a different colour wheel. I do it on here. Yellow is purple. Blue is orange. And green is red. And depending on the tone of the red and the orange and the green depends on where you mix them. But you can play about with those. But basically, complementary colours are opposite each other on a colour wheel. They are called complementary colours. These work together to create harmonious reactions. Try using them side by side in your work. They will each appear to be stronger by contrast, bouncing off each other. Sometimes you can use green and red is a good one. It is a good one to use because you have like a tea rose, but you have a very vivid green leaf. Then it's called about triadic colours. Triadics occur when a chord of 3 colours is used in combination. Well, I call these, they would probably be called tertiary. In the old-fashioned word is tertiary, because it's TRI for 3. So I call them tertiary colours. So they're all the yellowy oranges, the yellow oranges, the greeny yellows, the bluey greens, the pinky purples, sorry, the reddy purples, the reddy oranges. So they're all the ones that are in between our 6 main colours. So I would call that one a tertiary, because it's not a yellow and it's not an orange. It's in between. This one would be tertiary. It's not a red, it's not an orange, it's in between. The purpley blue would be, because it's not a bright blue, it's not a purple, it's in between. And you can pick out things like a pea green is a good example. A pea green isn't a vibrant green, this isn't a bright green, it's in between yellow and green. So it's a tertiary. If it was exactly between yellow and blue, it would be green. The same with teal's colour. They're greeny blues, and teals and I can't think of the other word. They're greeny colour, but they're a bluer green than a green, if that makes sense. They're not a bright green. They're a bluey green. That's a tertiary colour. And that's when you buy sets of Derwent pencils, pastel pencils and other pencils in big sets. You've got a couple of good yellows, like a cold and a warm yellow, a cold and a warm red, a cold and a warm blue, and then you get half a dozen greens, purples and oranges, and then you have a lot in between, all the olives, All the olives are they're a tertiary because they've got yellow and they've got green, but then they've got orange. That gives you an olive colour. The best way to play with colour is to, and I might just have it behind me. I thought I saw it. Just bear with me. All my books are just behind me. I thought I saw it. Nope. I made, there's a video about colour mixing with printer inks. I think there's 3 videos and there's 630 colours. Oh, I have it. I may have it. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. And it was a sketchbook. Is this the one? Yes. And this was made with printer inks. So I had 3 printer inks. I had a pinky purple, I had a yellow, and I had the blue. And I've written here, look, you get 6. I got 6 primary colours. Remember 2, 2 and 2, because you need 2 reds, 2 yellows and 2 blues to get every colour. And I got 3 secondary colours, green, orange and purple. And then I got 6 tertiary colours. So I have a red purple and a red orange. The red purple is a purpley pink. It's a cold alizarin crimson. The red orange is a cadmium orange. It's a cold orange. Sorry, it's a cold red. There's a yellow. The yellow green is lemon yellow, a cold yellow, a bright yellow. Yellow orange is a cadmium orange. It's a little bit warmer. It's just warmer. So you've got 2 different ones. Then we've got a blue purple, which is French ultramarine. It's a warm purpley blue. And then we've got a blue green, which is cerulean blue, cobalt blue, but cerulean is the coolest. And cyan is actually in the printer inks. Magenta is actually in the printer inks for the red, and I've forgotten what the yellow is in printer inks, but it's very, very cold and very, very bright. Excuse me. And then I made, but I had to make them in a different way. I had 3 colours. So I took my cold yellow and my cold blue and I made a bright green. I took my, I didn't have a purple as such. I didn't have a cold blue. So what I had to do is take the blue and the red to make a purple. And I put a touch of purple into this blue to make a French ultramarine. So if you've got a cold blue, you can make a French ultramarine, but you can't make a cold blue. If you've only got French ultramarine, you can't get that red out of it. You have got to have a cold blue for bright greens, really. It's best. The same with the oranges. I didn't have a cadmium red. I had alizarin crimson. I had magenta in the printer inks. So I took a tiny bit of the red and the vibrant yellow and I made an orange. And then I took a tiny bit of orange and put it to another a bit of magenta or alizarin crimson, and I can make a cad red, because you can make that colder by adding yellow. So that gave me 2 reds. Then I took the very, very cold printy lemon yellow and I added a touch of orange to it, and that gave me a cadmium orange. It gave me a warmer orange. So that gave me 2 blues, 2 yellows and 2 reds. It gave me 6 primary colours. And if you have those 6 primary colours, there isn't a colour on the planet you can't make. So always look at sets, whether it's watercolour, acrylics, pastels, oil paints, gouache. You need a warm and a cold of each primary colour. If you can see a cold blue and a warm blue, a cold yellow and a warm yellow, a cold red and a pinky warm red, a cold red, then you know that's quite a good set. All the others you don't necessarily need, but they're handy. That gives you, from 6, gives you 3 bright primary colours. So then with the purple, you can add the red purple, the alizarin crimson, and you get a purple red. You can add the French ultramarine, the blue purple, to a purple, and you get a purple blue. And in between each primary and secondary colour, you get a tertiary. And then in between each tertiary, you can have 20 or 30 others, depending on the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s are good. There's 100 colours. So out of these 6, so I actually would like the set of Caran d'Ache so that I could put them in a colour wheel like this, and you'd see exactly where they were sat. And I had actually intended to make them, but I can prove that you can make, how many colours have I got? 9. I've got 15 colours here as a made colour. So from then you can get hundreds more. I hope that made sense. So this is the colour wheel, and I made this with printer inks. That's why it went through, it's smudgy. I think these are all printer inks because it was cheaper, and I'm a cheap tight Yorkshire lass. So what I took are the primary reds. Can we see that? Because it's not in. I'll just have to zoom in a bit. Ow. Sorry. I didn't want to be doing lots of owls. Does that look okay? So the primary reds. So I have my warm reds, warm colours, cool colours, cool colours. So I took, and this is a good test, this will teach you how to make every colour under the rainbow. I just have to move that out of the way because it's just a little bit uncomfortable. So I took my red orange, and you can use cadmium red for this one. This is your orangey red, this is your cold red, and you want an alizarin crimson or a magenta or a madder rose, a pinky red. And from those 2 colours you're going to add green because it's the complementary colour. So I took a ready orange and a ready purple, and I want to do it in 6 stages. So I've put them 1 to 6. And I don't know if you can see, I can't really lift this very well, but I don't know if you can see that these are pinky reds and dark, probably good for shades for pinks and reds, and then we've got like a brick red here. But the red orange, we instantly go into the browns and the fawns and the tans. But right at the bottom here, we've got a little bit of a the one that's before it's green, the number, sorry, I did 7. The 7th little drop becomes a bit of an olive green, but exactly the same amount of green in that red, the pinky red, and I've got a brick red brown, a russet. So just by changing the colour of red to the green completely changes the colour, and it also doubles as well. And I actually took it a step further inside because I just can't help myself. So I didn't actually stay very, very neat. If I just pop that behind there, that might just prop it up and just make it that little bit. The colours just flush out a bit. But the good thing about printer's inks are they're a little bit messy. You've got to be extremely careful, and I used the bottom of glass jars. I had 3 glass jars with the 3 colours in, and then I made 6 colours, and I made them in a colour wheel. I made them in I think I may have it, but it's not handy. I think I may have it, and I used I think they're a couple of pounds, the big plastic pallets, and they have little wells, and it made me get quite a lot of those. And I think I did some colouring in. I'm sure I did a colouring in with these colours, but this was practice. So the primary yellows, again, the yellow orange is my cadmium orange, but this is the one I made. This isn't out of a tube, this is printer inks. And as I say, there is 3 or 4 videos, and it's about colour mixing. Then there's a yellow, I've called it a yellow green because it's colder. It's on that side, and that's your original yellow. That's your not julienne, I forgot what it's called. In printer ink, it's vibrant yellow, very, very strong yellow, a lemon yellow, a cold yellow. And again, the complementary colour is purple, so we added a drop each time. And by the time we got to 6 and 7, again it's a yellow, but we've got some kind of russety brown colours here, and we've got some cold straw colours here, and I took it right down to almost dull purples. And this is why, if you're doing a flower that's bright purple, don't add black for a shadow or Payne's grey. Chuck your Payne's grey away, unless it's pastel. It's only good in pastel. Chuck your Payne's grey away. Add a touch of yellow to your purple, and you will have some beautiful dark muted purple shades. You can never get a purple grey as good as you can if you put Payne's grey in it. Always just put yellow and put a touch more yellow, and you'll take your purple as far as you want it. But a touch of yellow into your purples will make some dull purples. Now it depends which purple you do. Sorry, which yellow. If you do a cold yellow, you'll get straw colours and really, really dull, almost just a touch of purple, very dark purples. If you put a yellow orange, it's a cadmium yellow, to your purple, you will get a little bit more purpley colours and fawns. And it's a good thing to take a yellow to a purple and a purple back to a yellow to get all these colours. There's 67 colours here from 2 yellows and 1 purple. That's a lot of colours. So then I did the blues, and again I had my cold blue, my original printer blue, which is cerulean blue. I'd made the purple, which isn't the brightest in the world, but it looks like a French ultramarine. And then I added the orange. So look at the different colours by doing this. If you do a cold cerulean blue and you add it to orange, you add orange to it, I beg your pardon, you get all the teals and all those blue greens. If you add a warmer blue, which obviously has got a touch of red in it, a tiniest amount, because you've made it out of purple, so you've got a little bit of pink in there, tiniest bit of red. Look at the colour difference. They go completely different colours. So if you have a French ultramarine and you want to make a teal colour, you will never make one in a month of Sundays. You can't, because you've got too much red. You've got the red in the orange and red in the blue. But if you've only got red in the orange, then you can make it. So again, there's 52 colours on here, but depending on which blue you use with your complementary orange, completely changes the colours you get. And I've covered up my thingy so I can't see if everybody's... So that was Primary Blues. So then I decided to do this, and again I start off doing something and then I kind of go off on a tangent. So this one is secondary colour purple. So secondary colour purple. So I decided to make a cooler purple. So there's a blue purple, which is a tertiary, and there's a purple red. So on my original colour wheel, there's my purple. So on my purple, on my purple I have a purple, I have a purple there. That's my secondary colour. I'm going to have to maybe use this hand. So that's my purple. That's my purple red, and that's my purple blue, because that's got slightly more blue in it. So it's a bluier purple than this, and that's a reddier purple than this. So they're tertiaries. So I decided that that was going to be my pinky purple, my reddy purple, and that was my blue purple. So again, I did it in twos. I had my purple red on this side and my purple blue on that side, and I added one yellow, cadmium yellow. So my cadmium yellow was added a little bit at a time. And again, one cadmium warm yellow. So that warm yellow has the smallest, smidgiest touch of red in it via our orange. So to get our cad yellow, we have a very vibrant yellow, and then we make it with a red to give us an orange. But in this orange is a touch of red, but then that's kind of diluted again because we've got a touch of orange into this bright yellow, and that gives us cad yellow. But there is a tiniest amount of red in there. That's what warms it up. That's what makes the cadmium yellow. So if you look at the colours differences, if you add cad yellow to a purple blue, a bluey purple, you get some gorgeous dark purple shades, and then it goes into kind of a bit of an olive colour here. You get some gorgeous olives and some grey olives, almost Payne's grey olives there. So if you took that a step further, you could make the Payne's grey. You've got a purple red, so that's a pinky warm purple, and then adding that gives us a little bit of a reddy, russety colours, russet reddy browns. And then we've got some straw colours here, and what you'll see is at some point you'll think, oh, I've seen that colour bit somewhere else. And you can do this in chart form. I've done it like this, but you can do it in chart form. You can have all your colours and you can mix them, and then you'll find one up there will mix one down there, and they'll be the same, because you've got a purple into a yellow, and there you've got a yellow into a purple. But you obviously need more yellow into your purple to get it to match. But you can match colours up that way. But this shows you, and once you've done this, if you think, oh, I want to make this gorgeous grey, I've got a purple, but I've got a really dark shadow, or I want half a dozen shades. The typical example is the in the Harry Potter book. There's the lady in the photograph, in the painting, that guards the door into Gryffindor, and in the colour book she's got this crinoline dress on. So that would be quite good, because we want some nice purples, some bright purples, but we also want a couple of really dark shadows to show just how creased and folded and all the material is in there. the best guy to look at is James Tissot for folds and creases, but we might want these purples. So I thought, right, okay then, I've done cadmium yellow. That's a warm yellow. I'm going to do it with my lemon yellow. And I can't tear these out, but there are some similarities, but a lot of them are completely different. So all these, this is the furthest away. But if I show you you can see the furthest away colours. That's the difference. So by having two yellows, look how many different colours you've got, twice as many. So when you add a cold yellow to exactly the same purple, the red purple and the blue purple, you get completely different colours. So again, I've now realised, oh, I can't turn this just a minute. No swearing alive, no swearing live. If you look at the purples, the cadmium yellow instantly made that purple kind of dull and uninviting, but a cold yellow made some very, very cold, almost Payne's grey cold. They are almost again Payne's grey, cold grey, but then we've got some nice greens here. We've got some really dark, nice greens, which again would be really nice in shadow rather than adding black or grey. I shouldn't pick on Payne's grey because Payne's grey is actually amazing in pastels, but that's another for colour books. For colour books where you can't mix, that's brilliant because we don't have the advantage of mixing in pastels. And again, if you look on the other side, this lemon yellow has taken this purple again to some russet purpley reds. They're not nice purples because what you're doing is you're taking the warmth out of a purple, so you're making it very cold. And that's what we said about not having a French ultramarine, just having a cerulean blue will make a very, very dull purple. And these actually turn very quickly, not to purples. And if you take them the other way, so if you had your cad yellow and you mixed a red purple, you would get this browny, straw coloured cad. That's almost a yellow ochre colour. That's a yellow ochre, I would think. I would say that's a yellow ochre. So that's a warm, ready purple added to a lemon yellow. But look what happens when you add the purple, because at this point it's taking that you've got a lot less purple and more yellow. You've got those gorgeous greens that are almost olive colour, but they're a dull green. So again, that would be a lovely shadow for a bright green. They almost go olivey. The reason they don't go too olivey is because you need a bit more red. So, not to be outdone, I took an orangey red and an orangey yellow, so a cooler orange and then a more reddy orange, and I added French ultramarine. And again, that gave you some nice browns, warm browns, russets, warm browns. And then when you get to this end, so you've got more French ultramarine than you have your oranges, you kind of get some greys, some greeny dull greys, but they're really gorgeous colours. Sorry, I didn't realise I wasn't in frame. What did I say? No, cad yellow isn't a purple yellow. Did I say purple yellow? It's a warm one. It's a warm one. I added a touch of orange to a bright yellow to make a cad yellow. That's how you make a cad yellow. Now obviously it's not as good as a tube of cad yellow, but that's if you just have 3 printer inks, you can still make a cad yellow. But I always say you're better having 6 colours. You want 6 colours, 6 primary colours. So I made my cadmium yellow I didn't add a touch of red to it because I got orange, but I added a touch of orange, a tiniest touch, believe me. If you watch the video, it's like a half a drop to the yellow, the bright yellow, and that gave me the cad. Is that what you meant? Is that what you meant? But when you look at this, you realise that if you make a colour, if you look at orange, if you look at an orangey yellow, a warm yellow, it has a touch of red in it because that's what makes it warm, because yellows are cold. If you look at a blue, the reddy blue has a touch of red in it because that's what makes it warm. So if you have a warm blue with a warm red, you get the brightest purple. If you took a cold orange, so a cold orangey red and a cold blue, your purples will be they'll be manky and dark and horrible, and that's when people get upset. You see, that's the prime example. Those 2 purples are the furthest away. That's your cadmium, sorry, that's your French ultramarine purpley blue, and that's your, well, that's the lemon yellow. Where's the cadmium yellow gone? And the cadmium yellow. But because they've both got red in them, you've got a better purple. But the cold yellow makes a really dull purple. Did that make sense? I wouldn't say there was a natural purple, but I might be wrong. Just bear with me, I'll have a look. I have this, this is what I'm going to do, because the hands don't work. I have got hundreds and hundreds of art books, colour books. I've had a lot for years, and then when I did my degree, the only thing is I have difficulty. My husband had to put these books on the desk, because I might swear. But the best colour book is this little one, and I lost it for a long time. This is just what I did as an experiment for me, but it worked really well. I was going to talk about pastel pencils, isn't it? So this is about making using dyes and pigments. In fact, we were going to look at that book that I bought, the original one from 18 something or other. Oh, it's there, look. I was going to go through this book. Right. This book here has got to be the Bible of Colours. This is called Fields Chromatography, and it's Thomas W. Salter. Now, Thomas did it after, Fields did it years and years and years. So this is actually the book. But you can, if you want to buy the original, I was lucky, I got this for 20 odd quid. It's £200 or £300, but you can get this book free and download it free. The one thing it doesn't have is the gorgeous things of Winsor and Newton in the back, all these gorgeous sketches and old easels and how everybody used to paint and what they used to use, and all the description I might go through this if I'm well enough to do one at the weekend. I'll go through exactly how original brushes were supposed to be. Now, we had all sorts of unusual ones and riggers. They're not a new invention, but it will tell you how the masters used them. And I know people want to do new things, but if you learn what the masters used to do, you can then change that and use what knowledge you have to move about and do it differently. But it tells you about different brushes and what they were made of and how to store them and colours. But I will do this very quickly because this would be a 20-hour video. Might have to have a mouthful of water. These are the chapters on classes of colours. And then we have on neutral and white, on primary yellow. Primary yellow goes from page 81 to page 127. Most of these colours have got 100 colours in them, named, from Victorian times. Oh, good, Caroline. Yeah, well, you can have warm and cold in different ones, and this particular thing does not help with warm and cold, but it should do. Actually, it should do. But if I'll go through this very quickly because this could take a long time. See if I can just tap this. Then it says primary yellows. Primary reds goes from 127 to 183. Primary blues goes from 183 pages to 239. And then we have secondary oranges, secondary greens, secondary purples, and then they do their colour wheel slightly different, and I love it. And I'm going to do my colour wheel in this particular way because it has citrine, which is the greeny yellow. It has russet, and it has olive. And all colour wheels for tertiaries don't normally add those, but it's the way they do the colour wheel. Then they have a semi-neutral brown, a semi-neutral marron, which I would think is kind of purpley kind of colour, but browny purples, and then semi-neutral grey. And again, you know, there's 6 pages on that, and then there's the neutral grey and the neutral black. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave that for 2 seconds because it's absolutely fascinating. So what I'm going to do is, this is one thing that hopefully I could do if I don't too many books. I'm just going to finish this particular one, and then I'm going to do another video, and I'll go through all the colours in there, and then that might tell you just how unusual they are. So very quickly, well, I say very quickly, I'll go back to that. Sorry, I've gone on a rabbit trail. I will go back to that, I promise. Because this is all I can do at the moment. And it's keeping me sane. So apologies if everybody knows all this already, but it's just going to keep me sane. So I thought if I go through my books, I know I'm not talking a lot of rubbish. Because it's in black and white. Whereas normally I say things like somebody said about putting water to pastels. It's a bit strange, but hey ho. So this is a secondary purple with lemon yellow, and then I did it, and you can do this with other colours. You don't have to use printer inks. It's just Amatite Yorkshire Lass, and it was £3.50, and I've still got tons of printer ink left. In fact, I might be able to do that because you just tap, and I'm not so bad at tapping. Yes. So, and I haven't got my hand splints on as well. I forgot to put my hand splints on when I went to see the lady yesterday. So she's going to think that I can do handstands, but never mind. So if you look at the purples again, and for making greens, don't always just think blue and yellow, because at the bottom here you'll see some gorgeous, not so much the red purple has got the red in it, but the cold purple has got more blue, and the lemon yellow doesn't have any red in it, so that's giving you into the greens and the olives and the gorgeous colours here. So if you think, I've got a yellow here, I've got a cold yellow, I want an unusual green, don't always put blue, because you're going to get a vibrant bright blue. But what we said about the colour wheel, opposites, you get these gorgeous mixtures of colours. And if you're doing trees and shrubs, these are fab. They just flashed out a little bit and I can't actually pick them up. So very quickly I'm going to go through all these, and then I'll show you how this is how I did it and how the video shows. So the next one is secondary orange. So again, I had a red orange and I had a yellow orange, but I added French ultramarine. So French ultramarine to an orangey red gave russet colours and very dark Painsy grey, kind of very, very cool greys, which are gorgeous. So you can't really see them because they're flashed out. I might put all these on my website now I've kind of got it sorted. But if you have a yellow orange, a brighter orange with less red in it, it actually goes to green quicker. But you also get your teals. They are dark teals, they're not bright, beautiful teals, but again for shadows they're beautiful. The same with the oranges. You know, you've got that orange. If you're drawing an orange or painting an orange, add a touch of French ultramarine to get the shadows and the dimples and things. So you've got all these, and they're connected. That's why your drawings look quite good. I also explained that in another video as well. By using the same colours next to each other, it's more harmonised. So again, the same orange, the same two oranges, a red orange, an orange red and an orange yellow, but I used cerulean blue, the cold blue, cobalt blue, cyan, really, really cold bright blue, and that made a better teal. So if you're looking to make a teal, you'll think, well, actually, how do I make a teal? Well, I don't want French ultramarine because that's just a dark green. I want a real nice teal colour. So I need a cold blue, and I need an orangey yellow, and actually that's a colder yellow. So that's the cold side and that's the warm side. And again, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 30, yep, 45 colours. So there's 45 colours on there. So then we go secondary colour green. So again, I've got a blue green, so that's got a little bit more blue in it. And I've got a green yellow, so that's got a little bit more, yeah, that's a yellowy green. And I added the complementary colour, which is alizarin crimson. So again, at the bottom here we've got some warm olivey colours, and then we've got some cold greys, but these will be wonderful in forests and cold for very dark cold places with your greens. But again, some nice shades of green by adding alizarin crimson. On the other side we've got the olives, olivey greens. And then if you actually look here, I don't know if it'll show, it's not brilliant, but look at the difference I'll do it from there because it's easier. If you look at the difference of colours, exactly the same green, but I've used a cadmium red, I've used a cold red, and that's given olives and russets and browns and greys, but it's given cold browns. That's the Van Dyke. Is that the Van Dyke? The cold brown? A nut brown, very cold brown. Sorry, there could be a bark alert. So by just changing a warm red to a cold red, you get, again, completely different ones. So again, if you wanted a brick red or a russet red, you'd think, oh well, I know that's a green, the complementary is red, but is it a bright pink? Because if you have a bright pinky red, you will never get your russets. You want the cad red. Yes, Karen says this book is free on Kindle and Amazon. Yes, it is. And apologies for this, it's just I can't do anything else and it's keeping me sane. And believe me, this is so painful. It's like torch trying to pick anything up. But hopefully we might get better. So, that was my gate, was it? We have a beautiful bright sky out there. So again, that's just by changing. So if you want to experiment, don't just do it with one red. Do it with two. Because I have two primaries, I'm doing it with two secondaries. I've made two secondaries. I've made so the bright green would be in the middle, and I would add a touch blue there and a touch yellow there, and that would give me those two. And I've done that with all of them, if they're a secondary colour. But that gives you another 29 colours. So by using the two greens and the two reds, there's 26 on there, so that's 55 colours. But you instantly know about things. So then I decided, well, can I mix my own colours instead of buying hundreds? So I thought, right, this is a colour wheel. And it's a bit messy, but what I decided to do was to look at my Derwent watercolour pencils. And again, there's lots of different names on lots of different things. Everybody does the paints and the oil paints, the watercolour paints, the Derwent pencils. Everybody calls everything different colours. So sometimes you have to think, right, this is a this is a colour. Is it a warm colour or is it a cold colour? So I looked through my pencils. For my Derwent watercolour pencils, I have the full 72. And I chose the deep vermilion number 14 as my red-orange. I chose my Madder Carmine red-purple. I don't know why I did that, because they've got a cadmium, but hey go, that's what I chose. I chose deep cadmium for my warm yellow, and lemon yellow for number 6 was my cold yellow. I chose number 29 deep ultramarine for my purpley blue, sorry. And I chose spectrum blue 32. And then I made my colour wheel. I scratched the colour over the top and I mixed the colour wheel. Sorry, that's not brilliant, is it? There we go. And so out of my 6 pencils, I've made some colours. So I decided to do it with Inktense. So again, I looked at my colours in my 72 set and I chose Scarlet Pink 0320 as my red-orange. I chose Carmine Pink 01522 for my, there seems to be too many numbers on there, but for my red purple. I chose Sun Yellow 102 for my cold yellow and Cadmium Yellow 0210 for my warm yellow. I chose Lagoon 0810 for my purpley blue and Irish Blue 109 for my bright blue, my cold blue. But there is a bright blue 110, but I changed it because the Irish Blue was a little bit cooler and I was looking for the coldest one I had. And again, it gave me the brightest green. It gave me quite a bright green, did that. The purples. And so you see, you can actually make them. Now they're all kind of, they're a hue. Again, they're not a pure colour. If you got an orange out of the tin of Inktense, it would blow your socks off. It wouldn't be dull like that. Sorry, not dull, but pastel. It did make pastel colours, which actually I quite like. And it also taught me that the Inktense pencils can be vibrant, but they can also be made to be very pastel-y. So you can get a lot of variation out of your Inktense depending on how much pigment you use. I did it with my Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolours. And these aren't numbered, they're not named, sorry. I think they're named in Japanese. So I have a red orange, which was 31, which was a gorgeous, gorgeous cadmium orangey red. 32 was my red purple. I then had 64 was my French ultramarine, and they're actually quite good, purpley blue. My cold blue was 63. My very cold yellow was number 40, and my warm yellow, my cadmium yellowish, was 43. And then I mixed those colours together to make purple and to make green. And then I made the tertiary colours in between. So I mixed a green with some more yellow to have a yellow green. I mixed green with more blue to get the tertiaries, and they're the ones in between. Then I went to Peerless and I looked at my Peerless, and I used a Scarlet Vermilion, and of course the Peerless do still mix beautifully because they're very, very, very well pigmented. This is quite easy, and it also showed me how well they were all pigmented. So this is just me touching a wet brush onto those little strips of the Peerless watercolours. And I still made a very, very, very nice colour wheel with some bright purples, some bright greens and some bright oranges. So in my Peerless, I made Elysian Crimson for my red purple, Scarlet Vermilion for my red orange, Brilliant Yellow for my warm, and Daffodil Yellow for my cold. I used the Cobalt Blue for the cold blue and the Deep Blue for my purpley blue purple, my warm, almost French ultramarine. And so that gave me a bright purple, a bright orange and a bright green. And then again I mixed the green with a touch more blue to get a green blue, and I made the green with a touch more yellow to get a yellow green. And I did that in between each secondary colour to give me some tertiary colours. Then I use my Caran d'Ache Neocolors as well. These are Neocolor 2s. And again I haven't actually written them down, but what I have done with these, I went out and I bought, they do a French ultramarine, they do a cyan or a cerulean, they do the cadmium yellow, they do a bright yellow, they do Elysian Crimson, and they do a cadmium red as well. So actually they were very, very beautiful colours. Of course the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s are very well pigmented. So again, I made these colours. Now they're not as bright as they are when you get them out of the stick. So if I got a bright purple, obviously it's going to shine the socks off that one. It was just to show taking the 6 colours from the Caran d'Ache, could I get all the other colours out? Now if I'd have used a lot of the colour, which is what I was going to do, I was going to get the 6 colours and there wouldn't have been anything left of them, but I would probably had about I probably would have had about 600 and some colours, which is more than Caran d'Ache have got. So you don't always have to buy the full set. Your crayons will not last as long, and that's why my little book of watercolours works. There's 600 and some colours in there, and then if you times each one by 10, because in each square you can get 10 shades, that's 6,000 colours. And I'm still trying to get Derwent to put all their colours down. I think they can get 1,000 colours, 1,000 paper palettes of colour in a book. You times that by 10, that's 10,000 colours in an A4 book that will fit in your pocket. Probably smaller than my phone. That has got to be the best 21st century travel watercolour set on the planet. I mean, you can go out and do colour sketches if you're an artist. You can do lots of colouring in. You can give it to a kid with a water brush and they're not going to make a mess. So it's for everybody. And I think Derwent really need to do that, especially if they get all their art bar colours in as well, because they've got some really unusual, really gorgeous colours that would look fab, absolutely amazing. You can mix them. They're almost like these. They're all the dark teals colours that we were mixing earlier, obscure colours, like praline, and really unusual colours that normal colourist companies don't make. You get all those in little tiny square block and you've just got the world. So I'm still waiting for Derwent to jump on the bandwagon, but so that's the Caran d'Ache. So actually that worked really well. I did the PH Martin's professional watercolours. They're in liquid form as well, and of course they were the most vibrant. They didn't go through, but they were fab because I chose the colours, and they are so vibrant. And then we got to Winsor & Newton when I got this is gouache. So of course gouache is very, very good for mixing, and it's very flat, so that gave me a really, really nice colour wheel. I would think if you made this particular colour wheel in a palette form with colours, so you take out your 2 reds and you leave a gap and you put your 2 yellows and you leave a gap and you put your 2 blues, you can get the 3 colours in between, and I think that would give you the perfect colour for that. This is the Winsor & Newton watercolour pans, and again I got carried away because I started playing and messing about around the edges because I do that. But this again was made from the yellows and the reds and the blues. Now normally artists do one of the it's flashed out a bit, do one of these. So you do yellow and you add a red orange, and I started this and I gave up. It takes a long time, but if you're in the sun sitting outside with a radio and listen to a play, it'd be fab. So you take a yellow green and add a red orange, a yellow orange, a purple, and if you go through all these you end up with hundreds and hundreds of different colours. And if you look at a lot of watercolourists, they do that. They set them all out like that. But you find your teals and you find so I'm going to stop that video on that because I've just found this wonderful thing I'd forgotten about. Oopsie. So we didn't go very much on pastels, but we're going back onto colour. So thank you for watching, and that's the end of this particular video on how to make a lot of colours from just 6 primary colours. Thanks for watching.